Hey there, everyone. Story time. There are a lot of projects right now currently in beta, and I mean a lot. And that means not everyone will hear about every single design or try them out. So, in an effort to combat this, I decided to get on a drunk Discord call with Dr. Death. He's in charge of running the beta channel for the Gatalog. Every month, me and Dr. Death will talk about each beta in the Gatalog. If there is something you want to hear more about, please let me know in the comments below. I'll put some timestamps in the description and I guess some sort of gameplay just to have something to watch in the background. Now with that out of the way, I'll go directly to Dr. Death in his introduction. Let's first, if anything, get at least a quick little rundown of, again, in case people don't remember who you are one more time, again, why you are probably the best person to speak about betas and stuff, and if you have a beta or you want to know more about it, how do I, learn more?
Absolutely. I'm Dr. Death. I am the beta manager for Deterrence Dispense slash the Gatalog. It's the same group. One is the website, one is the chat. My job is that when you want to start a beta and you need testers and you want to refine a design, you come to me. I need to see a picture of the beta. I need to preferably get some of the files so that I can look them over to make sure that it's not fake. And then I need a verification that you fired at least one round safely. We can't go blowing up testers, especially with some of the really wacky things that have been sent to me over the years. I've been doing that for, claymores and landmines. We avoid landmines. It's not a good, it's not a good look.
How do I even contact you, and how do I, figure out where to get into the beta? I'm not going to be able to post the links, by the way. I want that to be known.
Play it safe.
But yeah, no, this is to stay on YouTube and people can find out. But, where would I need to go and how would I find it?
The easiest way to join our chat is going to be to go to thegatalog.com, and there is a link right there that says join the team. Now you'll need to make a GitLab account. That's really easy. It's just two-step verification so that we don't end up with tons and tons of bots and spam and everything else in the chats. Other than there, I am on Twitter. I'm Dr. Death 1776.
And that I can link to. I can link to your Twitter, so I'll do that. From what I remember, last time I'm not sure if it's been a while since I've spoken to you personally, but we talked at least a little bit in DMs and stuff. But there was a Canadian 22 semi-auto or fully DIY design, right? Yeah. Is that one that has been released yet?
No, because they did some more redesigns on it. They wanted to improve its looks because it was pretty grody looking. It had
yeah, I remember.
It just wasn't that pretty. They focused on the function and now comes the form. But that's the Yeet 22. It's by Shit on Wheels, and that is still in beta. I know that he redesigned parts of it to fit different areas, like different parts of the world that you might have access to different components or different types of ammunition, depending on how you have to do things. He wanted to make sure that it was very available and very versatile for anyone to be able to use. That is an incredibly exciting project right now. I believe right now the main focus is on the magazine, where they want to create a very reliable, simple magazine to make with common hardware store parts.
And I'm assuming so. It's probably 22 LR. Is it? Are there any that are like 22 or like nail gun blanks with whatever the fun ball bearing things?
From the videos I've seen, that is a 100% certainty. That I know for a fact that people have done that. I know that is possibly what a majority of people in some testing situations are using.
Theoretically, of course, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Whatever, Susan, please don't kill me. Go ahead.
Yeah, like I'm looking at one right now. The new design looks a lot better. It's still very Mad Max, but the primary focus and what everyone's talking about in the chat, because I'm reading it now, is just the the magazine. Just we need to get the magazine nailed down, and that's all part of the beta process. You don't realize what is going to end up popping up, what issues you might encounter. And one of the best parts about a beta is that a lot of people are involved. So maybe your printer prints this perfectly, but someone else's doesn't. And why is that? Or maybe, you never had this issue, but someone else is using a different type of filament, or there's a tiny little imperfection and it reveals a catastrophic failure, and you need to design around that. They might, someone else might test a design a lot harder than you're willing to test it. I'm kind of notorious for using a carpenter's hammer to assemble guns because I need to make sure that they're going to stand up to an idiot.
Let's at least talk about the Partisan, what is it again?
The Partisan 9. That is it's a different form of a direct blowback homemade personal or a
9mm PCC.
9mm PCC, whatever they're called. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, I can say that.
Look, even I have trouble with getting the terminology on it right too. No one cares that much. But what is this, and what makes this one? What makes it different from an FGC 9A, Mod 9, even a Cobra 9? And what makes this one different?
It addresses some of the issues that we had with the FGC 9. It bulks up certain areas where people have cracking issues. It's got a more simplified assembly. It's got a completely revamped ECM process where you can actually make it integrally suppressed.
Yeah, you piqued my interest there. Keep going, though. Keep explaining.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So it's got a new ECM process where the ports will actually be formed using ECM. And then you can use a homemade suppressor that the design is also provided with and has been tested. And I have video of that. And you just slide it right over it, and it is quiet. And the point of the ports is that it allows you to use standard ball 124 grain rounds, and they bleed off enough gas that it becomes subsonic, so you don't get the supersonic crack.
Oh, it's like the MP5 SD type of a thing. So let me at least think of this, preemptively ask some questions people might think of. Is it fully DIY-able type of a thing?
Yes.
Is it using a similar bolt, or maybe something we've seen before? Is it a completely unique bolt?
No, it's a new bolt. It's square for easier assembly. It also has a folding stock. I know that you can't fire it with the stock folded. Something to do with the way that the recoil impulse is. It's just not quite there.
Not a smart idea. Okay, yeah.
There's a buffer, even though it's a folding stock, there is a buffer inside of that folding stock, sort of the way that those folding AR-15s work.
Yeah, like the law folders. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm looking at pictures of it right now. This is actually a suppressed one. It does take Glock magazines because it has to take Glock magazines.
Everyone would complain if it didn't, but yeah, I got you.
Yes. Some people complain if it does, but I like them.
Does it have an extractor?
I don't know that for sure. I don't believe it does. I can look up the documentation here. There's always room for improvement, and I know that he already wants to start working on a V2. You don't always want to be having mission creep, and you don't want to always add things. It's better sometimes to get a design out there, get it finished, and then you can look at it, watch the real world testing, and then improve it.
No, yeah.
After you know for sure what's going on. So, okay, the bolt is square. It uses rectangular square steel. So it's more simplified, and it doesn't require welding.
That I think is a very good thing too. Welding is nice if you could do it, but if you don't have the equipment or if you don't have the space to weld, that is a very, very nice thing. But go ahead.
I apologize. I was actually wrong.
Dang it.
It's recommended to weld. It's not necessary. However, the cartridge pickup is like the FGC 9 where it is made, where it's made on the spot. are made out of a spot weld.
I will say, so I will say this one from experience. The spot weld for the bullet pickup is honestly, it's the best one. Everyone has tried their best to make their own non or weldless version of a bullet pickup, and those always
Yeah.
just eventually break, and it's kind of a pain because of that. But
I do think that with the square bolt, you're going to see a weldless option. It's going to be a lot easier to implement than with a round bolt. And I think you could even see a weldless cartridge pickup if enough time is devoted to it and people mess around with it a lot. I feel that you'd be able to use a bolt that is properly shaped and threaded in to the pistol caliber carbine bolt itself.
okay, but
Like a hardware store bolt, I should say.
my opinion on this too is if you want to know more about this too, let us know in the comments and help. Maybe we might be able to get the dev on, or maybe someone's speaking on his behalf. Okay, so those are the ones. What about the stuff in January though, like specifically? What are things that have started now?
Things that have started now.
Or at least,
Well, we actually had a very busy month.
I know, that's why I thought about this. I was like, oh god,
We had a lot of releases.
You're posting a bunch of stuff. So if anything, maybe there might not be too many betas to talk about, but there was a lot of releases too.
There was a ton of releases. We had the Recession Ruger come out, which is one of my favorite guns.
That is like the 3011 Ivan's PPK like frame, but with a Ruger upper and then uses Glock mags, right?
Yes, and then I slapped Meru the Succubus on the side of it, and it was hilarious.
There's that. There's not really much else to say about that one besides it's a fun gun, and I don't have it, but if I would, one of the complaints I know people saw about the 3011 is it doesn't use Glock mags. Boo-hoo. But okay, this one does. All right.
It does, and they're cheap, at least for now. Kits go away. They don't make the P series anymore, but there are a heck of a lot of kits out there. So if you get one, it is a fun little carbine, or pistol, I should say. It is a fun little gun.
And a very interesting thing about this one too, by the way, this little like design is this was like Ivan's test frame for a lot of things. So I'll just tell you guys this is sure, maybe the Recession Ruger might not. It is a finite thing. Look, you can anything that's a hammer fired gun, chances are you can probably get it to use an AR-15 fire control group, and if you really want to, maybe you can easily adapt the Recession Ruger to something else. That I'm just gonna throw that out there. But
there's endless possibilities.
I will give Ivan that. I'm glad he released the 3011 just because I knew he had that for the Walther PPK. And that one was the first thing I ever saw. But yeah, that one it's a very versatile frame. And at least this one has Glock mags as a possibility too. So that makes it easier for you guys if you wanted to do that. What else is there? I know for a fact Spooky just launched or just dropped all his Waffle Mag 2.0.
Yeah, the Waffle Mag 2.0 came out. It's got a lot more designs on it. I'm pulling it up right now. It has been extensively tested. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of rounds have gone through it. They're reliable. It has AR-15, AR-10, AK, Glock, and SETME magazines included in the pack, which makes it really interesting because, I believe that's the first printable SETME magazine.
And one thing one thing really interesting to add to this as well is, if I remember correctly from talking to Spooky, is these use AR-15 mag springs.
Yes.
Which, by the way, is a very, very nice thing to do. That's a nice thing about them. I will say it is versatile. It is nice. And printed mags, I think, are some of my favorite first projects of it forces you to calibrate your printer because, if you will find out quickly, if you're over extruding on things and, maybe your print looks perfect, but the sizes and dimensions aren't good, it's not going to fit in your mag well.
No.
That is something that happened with me a lot, was all my Waffle mags, my Ender 3v2 could never fit. But if I printed on any other printer, they would always be perfect. So it definitely forces you to at least learn how to calibrate things. And also if you're kind of worried or on the fence about trying anything printed, what's the worst that's going to happen is you're just not going to have a round that feeds. I mean,
Yes.
it is definitely, I think, a good starter project, and it's just a fun print thing to do as well. You should definitely try that one out if you haven't. And again, yeah, you have your 30 round. I think you have a 40 round too.
Yes, yes. There's 40 round mags, which is nice because especially if you shoot 3-gun and they allow the use of 40 round mags, it'd just be fun to show up with your own mags.
Right.
Like it would.
And one thing too that I also do, I know they're rather stupid. Maybe I wouldn't go necessarily the 20 round mags, but 10 round mags are kind of nice if you ever do bench shooting.
Absolutely, and with hunting, certain states have capacity limits. If you hunt with your rifle, that right there is a good cheap solution.
I mean, look, I was going to an academy and I saw that they were selling the 10 round mags or 10 round P mags at the same price as the 20 round P mags and at the same price as the 10 round 30 round P mags. Like, I'm not buying this. I'm not doing this. Like, I want a 10 rounder just so I can just put it in my bench rest and not have the mag hit the bottom of the table constantly. But yeah,
Yes,
I think there are a lot of good reasons to try the printed waffle mags, and I think you guys should do it. Spooky will thank you so much if you do it, and they are good ones. I will say that. But
they absolutely are.
let's go into something else too. What other things are right now in beta that you can think of?
In beta, I was going to say the COVID-22 also released this month.
Oh, okay, yeah. So this was another thing that I wanted to do a little bit ahead of time, but oopsies. Go ahead and explain that one a bit too, because that one's interesting.
The COVID-22, it's a single shot break action 22 pistol. It's incredibly simple. It's primarily printed. There's only a few little metal parts in it, a barrel liner, and a piece of metal to work as a breech face and a firing pin. It's very simple. It's very strong. It's been tested for hundreds of rounds without breaking. And you can make a really neat little target pistol out of it, or even like a tackle box gun. There's a ton of possibilities for that, and you would have hardly any money tied up in it.
Is it kind of like essentially just more of a souped up harlot, or if anything, or a little bit, its own different thing too?
No, it's its own thing. It's a lot longer barrel. You can make a shorter barrel version. It's going to use more plastic than a harlot. It's intended for long-term use. It is basically a printable target pistol.
Okay, so it's not necessarily it's not a buyback gun, but okay. It's more of a
I mean, you could use it for that, but it's primarily for actual use. If you want to target shoot, if you want to plank, if you want to go small game hunting, it would be perfect for any of those. You can put a scope on it.
So is it use its own? So it uses a barrel liner?
Yes, it uses a barrel liner, and you can go with shorter or longer barrel liners.
Does it need to use a barrel liner? Or can it use just a fully printed barrel too?
It's recommended to use a barrel liner. You can go with just, I would actually say no. It's very recommended to use a barrel liner.
Okay, because I'm trying to think of could it also fit the niche of like the songbird type of a thing of like the?
It could.
Because the songbird. By the way, if you are ever in that situation where you would need to use something fully printed like that, the songbird I think is like arguably the best. It's not a look. I wouldn't want to be in a situation to use it, but it is probably one of the better choices in that regard. But there just isn't really much else. But okay, so COVID-22. Anything final about the COVID-22?
It's just a fun little pistol, I'm gonna make one. I'm gonna use it to shoot cans. I might put a scope on it and try and hunt small game with it. It's reliable. It's durable. Print one. See how you like it.
Okay.
Something that's being tested. I've actually got a whole list here. One of the most exciting designs that actually has been around for a while, but it's under new management now. The original developer left, and now Control Pew took it over. Is the Big Mac, which is a printable Mac 10. I post it on Twitter all the time because it freaks people out.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one. So okay, this one I don't have too much info on this one, but I know enough people complain and moan about how, oh, I wanted like a Mac Daddy that looks like an actual Mac. Damn it! This is the
Yes.
one that does. This one that looks like an actual Mac. So go ahead and explain this one a bit. So Pew's now in charge of this one. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a printable Mac 10 receiver. It directly fits the VMac 45. I've tested it for hundreds of rounds, and it takes grease gun mags. It is a classic Mac. It's got provision for a brace or stock on the back. Um, it holds up. It's a chunky print. It takes a couple days, uh, but it does not break. You know, it's a classic 1980s style Mac, and that's like you said, people wanted that. You know, I think it's a lot of fun. It I added a big fake suppressor to mine that looks scary and lets you just control. You can
You
put
can
rounds
you can
where
grab
you want.
you can grab the suppressor, right? Because that's the nice thing about it. It's
Yes,
like there's that nice like almost grip area for like the Mac suppressors where like it's I guess supposed to be where you grab onto.
you were supposed to be able to grab it. They actually used to make a almost like an oven mitt that would wrap around the suppressors for use with like the special forces in Vietnam and stuff because they get into really extended firefights. But
Yeah, they're cool. They're cool things, aren't they?
they're cool, and I'm gonna probably make a clone. I pretty much did. I made mine a clone of the Left for Dead 2 Mac. You know,
We'll have to have some pictures up for this for people to see that. But that is, I think, a
yes,
really cool one, and that I know for there's always this one guy I know. He has a fun Cyrillic name who always asks me when I'm gonna make a Back Daddy video. He'll be eventually, but hey, if you guys want something that's a more traditional Mac, this is something that is a traditional. This is the closest thing I think right now to a traditional Mac that you're going to find, and it does look pretty cool. Go ahead and read the next one on the list.
another Mac, the Strymere, and that is by Uberclay, the same guy that did the uh, Recession Ruger, and that is a printable Mac 11.9 upper receiver. And so one of the hardest things about the Mac platform is that there's only one company, there was only one company that made them. Now more people are jumping in, but there's always been a shortage of uppers. You know, they're always out of stock. So now you can just print them. You need a bolt and you need a barrel, but that's something that's really exciting because combined with certain other Mac lowers that are out there, I know Aussie has one, and then we have the Mac Daddy. Uh, we're very close to a completely DIY Mac 11.9.
Okay, so what's the next one on the list?
We have the Ruby GB Gyro bottle, and that is a printable hypersonic capable suppressor. It'll stand up to 9 millimeter. It's been tested for short bursts of full auto. It holds up extremely well, and it is just a full printed suppressor that it's helical on the inside. It's very quiet, uh, and it's a cheap print. So, if you wanted to fill out the forms, you could print this and you wouldn't have much more than the $200 tax stamp.
So that is
That's,
really, really interesting. So, okay, I've seen the Shush Puppy before. Pew's done a lot of that stuff, but
yes,
how big is it compared to that?
it's pretty chunky. I mean, they have to be chunky. It's slimmer. It's more slim than the Shush Puppy. It looks like a Coke bottle, basically, like the classic glass Coke bottle.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, because that's I personally I think suppressors are really, really cool. But that is amazing if
yeah,
they have one that's fully able to handle, I guess, supersonic or supersonic routes.
yes.
That's really cool. So you said helical. So is it like a flow through design, or is it like
Yeah, yeah, it's a
like
flow through. There's a few different designs that they were actually testing, because they want to get it, completely figured out, and they want to make sure that, what is going to be the quietest, what's going to be the strongest. I'm looking here at the inside where they're testing a few other designs, and yeah, it's got ribs, it's got spirals, it's got an expansion chamber so that it can there's going to be a series of these. It's not just a single suppressor. There's going to be a couple different designs.
and this one of course is in
And
beta, right?
Yes, yes, it's in beta right now. You can join if you would like. Um, obviously we will assume that you already have all your paperwork filled out. You know, uh, there's a blast chamber, and the idea is that it's cheap but very strong. Yeah, PLA plus. You got to make it a little chunky to hold up to that blast.
But if you want to know more, of course, be sure to leave a comment and then ping either me or Dr. Death on whatever social media or comments, stuff like that. Okay, let's talk about the next one. What do we got on the next on the list?
Okay, we have the Co-op Animal Farm, which is the next evolution of the Biden's Bane printable upper.
Ooh, okay.
And that's an AR-10. That's an AR-10 printable upper. And it's very strong. It's been tested a lot. It's like the Biden's Bane, just scaled up and beefed up a lot. So it's combined with Ivan's printable lower for the AR-10, you can basically 3D print a battle rifle, and a lot easier to build than the Setme. Not to throw shade at the Setme, but as you know, it's a relatively challenging build.
Yeah, it is. It is a bit of a challenge. I guess that's another thing we should probably say is it really an AR-10 or is it like an AR-308? DPMS.
It's the AR-308 where we're not going to go through all. It's got to have the widest possible reach,
Right. Yeah, no, we're not. No one's going to be using an Armalite.
Yeah, you're not going to find an Armalite parts kit for less than your firstborn child. So
I mean, you could get the Brownells one probably, but yeah.
I thought they discontinued that.
Probably, I heard that. I mean, it wasn't the most popular thing for shocking reasons, I guess. But
it was $2,000 and the furniture looked like it was painted with a rattle can.
All right. But okay, yeah, well, what's the next one?
We have the Jmanjones PPX4. That's a Beretta PX4 frame, which is a really neat. I've actually built this one, and that's the Beretta 9mm, 40, and 45. I don't know if he has the 45 in beta yet, but I know it's planned to be part of the package. And the Beretta PX4 is a really interesting gun because it's actually got a rotating barrel when it goes back. Most barrels on a semi-automatic pistol tilt down on the recoil impulse.
Yeah, Browning tilting lock or whatever it is.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Lock. Yeah, exactly.
Not Ivan, let him argue about that. Go ahead, though.
But the Beretta PX4 rotates backwards. And so it's actually a very smooth shooting pistol. You don't get that sudden jerk. It's more of a steady push on the recoil impulse. And I have shot that one quite a bit, and it's a fun pistol. And the kits are relatively available. As soon as it was announced, I picked up one of the kits. I got it that week. So it shouldn't be hard to find if you want to jump into that one. And that needs more testers. I recommend anybody who's got an interest in interesting mechanics, unique pistol mechanics, or is a Beretta fan, hit me up, hit up Jmanjones. I'll plug you right into that beta.
That's cool. Okay. What's the next one?
The Silvers4sarefaster Bob Rossi. And that is a printable bullpup chassis for the Rossi RS-22. So those super affordable 22 rifles from Rossi that are semi-auto, they were on sale for like $79 on Black Friday. It's a bullpup chassis that you can print out and plop one in if you want to be, extra tactical.
Oh,
it's a fun little design.
Yeah, I've never heard of this one. I like bullpup things because I'm weird. Because I'm weird, I like bullpups. But okay, yeah, no, that's cool to see. All right, yeah, I like that one. You're saying cheap 22. Hey, it's not a CMMG conversion kit, so that's something new and different, right?
Yes, exactly.
But all right, now, yeah, well, that's interesting too. Okay, let's go on to the next one, I guess.
Okay, we have the Luke.sau FRTE. And that's a very easy print. It's an accessory, and it's a printable FRT trigger assist. It's a little nub that goes behind the trigger and more or less helps you get a consistent pull and consistent reset if you're using an FRT trigger.
That is kind of cool, actually. Yeah, I mean, of course, whatever. Yeah, it's just everyone's favorite machine gun, non-machine gun, but yeah. uh,
Yes, yes.
so is it so you do you need an FRT for it to work?
Uh, yeah, yeah. I mean, it might help with a standard trigger as well, but it's designed for helping people with an FRT that want to get a consistent reset, you know, because they are a little bit tricky to use. You know, you've got to get a technique down. This is like training wheels on a bike for the FRT.
No, yeah, I will say this. I mean, if you got one, hey, it's something to consider, of course. I guess I don't have one, but if you do and you want to help out with this one, probably not too hard. Does it work with the Hoffman's printed one, or is it kind of its own? Just no.
It should. Yeah, it should be compatible with the Hoffman printed
Okay,
FRT.
that's interesting. All right, okay, that's cool. But let's go on to the next one then. What do we got next?
Yep, we've got the Plucky Shadow Fire Mag. That's a printable Keltec P17 magazine. So if you've got a Keltec P17, sometimes the mags are hard to find, sometimes they're expensive. You can print one. You can print one. It's a nice, simple 3D printed magazine for the Keltec.
Huh. What's the next one?
Uh, this is one that I'm actually incredibly excited about. It's the Mountain Man 1776 Jiffy 22, and it is a printable frame for the Jennings / Jimenez 22 pistol. They are an incredibly cheap pistol. They are a 22 caliber direct blowback. They were very popular in the 70s up until the mid 2000s. You know, their popularity tapered off a little bit, but this was a little bit of a vengeance project on our part because I love cheap Saturday Night Special pistols. A lot of people, Mountain Man loves cheap Saturday Night Special pistols, and I've always loved the Jennings. And it turns out that last year, Jimenez was sued by Everytown and forced into bankruptcy. This isn't the first time this has happened. The gun control organizations had it out for this company since the 1970s. They've gone out of business and restructured and opened up under different owners or someone else, you know, or under different names, probably about 5 times. This time, though, Everytown, after running them out of business, went to the auction and bought the company and then melted all the equipment and pistols. So,
dear God, wonderful
I
people. Tell us more about at least the project.
Yes. So they're a tricky little pistol because they were made out of Zamac. They were very affordable. And so there's a lot of tolerance issues where they're just a very, one pistol is going to be slightly different than the next, which is going to be slightly different than the next. So this took about a year of testing different parts kits. Thank God they're like $20. And we were able to nail it down to now it's reliable, it's functional. And one of my favorite things is that Everytown, upon getting all these kits cut up, they said that these will never see the streets again. Well, sorry, buddy. You know, you cut up the parts kits. We bought the parts kits. They're going to see the streets again.
$20 is $20. I guess that's
exactly
for $20. You could easily just stick it to Everytown, which is that's a fun little thing to do. And also, I hate Everytown too.
Yeah, exactly. You stick it to them, and if you want to buy an extra nice kit, it might be up to $70 if you get something that's very mint or one of the more rare kits, because people do collect them. I actually just bought one. I found it in a gun shop right by my house, and I was like, well, I need this. So
that's cool. All right. Let's go on to the next one. What do we got next on the list?
Okay, this will probably be the last one because this is the last of the new announcements, and that is the Default SKS mag. And that is made by Default. He's a very nice guy, good friend of mine.
Oh, is he the guy that likes all the blue stuff? He's like the one that prints everything in blue.
Yes, he's the guy that prints everything in blue.
I know him.
And he took over a beta that had been abandoned for a while, and now he started it up again. And it's a printable detachable magazine for your SKS, and it uses an AR-15 magazine spring. It's nice. It's a fun little project. If you've got a Bubba AR, Tapco's out of business. A lot of those cheap magazines, the ones that worked, God forbid if you use Pro Mag, this is going to be more reliable.
Was this the Trudeau mag? Was that this one, or was that a different release?
I've tagged Trudeau in a lot of things. The Trudeau mag was different. I forget what that one actually was, but that's a great name for this one. He may have named it the Trudeau mag. I don't know. I heard of that one too. I can't commit to say that this is absolutely what it is.
That is a fun thing though. But hey, if you got an SKS though, this is definitely a fun thing to look into. But okay, so those are all the bays we have at least this month then?
Yes. The Kelli Blue Tripwire.
Okay, go ahead and say
that. That is an older one. That's an older one. I just announced it, though, on Twitter, and that is a 22 blank alarm device. You walk along, you trip the wire, it goes bang. That's pretty much the end all be all of it. I'm sure you could find other uses for it, but as it's being advertised, it's only a tripwire alarm device, I know there's plans to also do 12 gauge versions. But right now, if you put RAM sets in it, it's great if you're playing airsoft or something, there's your mine, it just makes a loud noise. So that's an interesting one. It's very simple, very cheap. And that's another one that we really need some good testers for.
They're not, it's not like they're safe to begin with on their own.
No.
I wouldn't really oh no, the 3D printed one exploded. Okay, it's not really. It's not like the metal ones are really any safer to begin with.
Yes, well, and you don't end up with chunks of metal flying everywhere if it does go boom.
But yeah, no, that's a cool one. Yeah, no, so I think this will be a fun first one for everyone. This is kind of it will be a little bit all over the place. I'll see how much I actually edit down a bit, but.
Sorry, next time I'll have a much tighter script prepared.
Oh, don't worry. Well, this is the first time, so we're gonna do it every month, at least till the end of the year. It's kind of a way of us at least discussing everything that's happening. Because look, there's a lot of things constantly in beta, and maybe we might do some follow-ups too. This one kind of was a little bit more all over the place, probably just because this is the first time. There's just a lot of things that I really wanted to talk about, and I know for a fact you wanted to talk about too. It's just, there are so many projects that are always being released. There's always things going on with them, and it's hard to keep up with every single thing. So I at least want to do this so every month, people know what's going on. We might be able to do some follow-ups. If you guys have any questions on follow-ups, we'll be sure to look at it, and we'll maybe revisit it later next month. But there's just a lot of different things that I think the only way we'll ever be able to cover all of them is by just doing something like this. If you guys are interested in one thing in particular, just let us know. And if there's any way you want us to do this differently, please, just leave a comment below. It's our first time doing it too, so we are open to anything. I don't really know what I'm doing either. I'm pretty sure. I hope audio didn't go horrible. I think I saw my mic constantly peaking despite it having muted and not me speaking anything. But whatever. We live and we learn. But I guess to finish this up, one more time, if anything, of hey, I want to know more about these things. What do I do?
If you want to know more about them, contact me either on the Deterrence Dispensed Rocket Chat or on Twitter. I'd be happy to talk to you. I'd be happy to guide you through and put you in the contact with whoever you need to talk to. Any of the project leaders. If you have a beta that you want to beta, contact me again. I'd be very happy to help you get through the process. And, we always want to be pushing forward. We don't stand still. We don't relax. We don't give up. We're killing gun control one print at a time, and the future's looking incredibly bright.
And I think that's a perfect place for this to end. And, thanks a lot for showing up, Dr. Death. We'll look forward to doing this probably next month. And
absolutely.
See you guys, I guess, next month then. Later.